for 8 years, and in that years, many achievements very clear, and also she's doing a lot of research ranging about primates, community conservation, data management, and now she's going to talk about an interesting project we have, which is entitled Rwanda Legacy Project. Now the title of the talk is Rwanda Legacy Tree Project, Protecting the Remaining Legacy Trees for Rwanda's Biodiversity Conservation and Cultural Heritage Preservation. Without further ado, I want to warmly welcome you, Prof. Kaplin. We are very, very eager to hear from your talk.
Great, thank you so much. And I hope you all can hear me okay. Yeah, I'm really pleased to be with you, even virtually online, to talk to you today about this Legacy Tree Project. It's a project that is really due to the work and passion of a group of people, and we want to tell you about it. And we hope that any of you that want to get involved or get inspired, you'll also let us know. So I want to also share with you our beautiful logo that a young person designed for the project through a competition we had. So let me tell you about the Legacy Tree Project. It's meant to protect the remaining indigenous legacy trees in the Rwandan landscape. And by indigenous, I mean the native species of trees. And I think many of you know of big old trees that are out there in the environment. They may be in your village or out in a field that you know of, and they really are quite noticeable and quite striking and beautiful. You see them out surrounded by open area. When it's really heavy sun, they provide shade, and when it's raining, you can go under them and get cover from rain. And always livestock could be under them, or people will be under them, and there can be birds and insects in them, and they're really a beautiful part of the environment. And I think also you may have noticed, I've seen sometimes they get cut down when a sidewalk is being put in, or a building is being built, or even a fence. They can just cut that tree. So that's what inspired, and this project is a collaboration between research associates and research fellows in the Center of Excellence in Biodiversity and Natural Resource Management at the University of Rwanda, and colleagues at the Rwanda Forestry Authority. And we have many other people working with us that I'll tell you about in a moment. And so where did the idea come from? Well, I was just telling you about how, you can get kind of motivated by seeing these legacy trees. But we also started talking about this with a group of us in this project we had. It was funded by the NCST, National Council for Science and Technology. It was an academia industry partnership project to look at integrating native trees into the timber industry. And while we were doing that, we noticed it was very difficult to find native seeds to plant seedlings for planting projects. And we were thinking about the importance of these large legacy or mother trees that would be producing seeds that could provide seed material for planting, for restoration and agroforestry projects. So that group of us, which included Dr. Miriam Mujawa Maria, Dr. Eloise Manishimwe, Janame Rutachumigambi, and also Apollinaire William and myself. We were talking about this and kind of developed the background and the framework for this Legacy Tree Project. And then I also have to acknowledge the Frankfurt Conservation Award, which I received in, it was quite a surprise and a shock that I was contacted that I would be receiving it in November of 2023. And I received an award money with that, which I spent quite a bit of time thinking about, maybe 6 or 8 months thinking about what I wanted to do with that money. And then I decided I would devote it to this legacy tree project, because in our Petir project, the NCST project, we didn't actually have the funding to launch the legacy tree project. So that's a little bit about the background. And then I want to show you a little bit about some of the details about why we think this project is so important. I hope you all are hearing me okay. Yeah, any Can
it's okay,
somebody,
we can hear you.
good. I'm asking because, you know, during the pandemic, I actually was teaching online for 30 minutes, and then I realized nobody could hear me. So I'm just making sure.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Thank you. So the problems that we are going to address with the Legacy Tree Project include biodiversity loss. So we know that these large legacy trees are important native species, but they also host a lot of biodiversity in them. So in these trees, you can find lichens and mosses and epiphytes and lianas and birds and insects, etc. And because we are experiencing a biodiversity loss, these large legacy trees can become very important for biodiversity conservation. And then we also want to address the loss of traditional knowledge. I've heard very often people talking about how young people might not be learning about the traditional knowledge about species and about the cultural history of Rwanda and the environmental history. So this project, the Legacy Tree Project, is going to help document that information by highlighting the connection between trees and people in the Rwandan culture. And it is also going to help address climate change. We know that temperatures are increasing, we are experiencing unpredictable rainfall, and we know that trees are important both for mitigation, that is absorbing greenhouse gas, absorbing carbon dioxide, and also they are important for adaptation. They help to hold soil, they help to create a modified climate around them by contributing to soil moisture content, humidity, and even protecting from very heavy sun and heat, which is important for livestock and people. And so again, our solution to these problems is the Legacy Tree Project. And we define a legacy tree as a tree that is remaining in what we call the working landscape. That means a human-dominated landscape despite transformation, despite all the changes humans are making in that landscape by cutting down vegetation, planting non-native vegetation, putting in impermeable surfaces. And these trees are usually close to the maximum size they can reach for their species and the age, and they're really considered to be the larger, older species of trees in the landscape. And what's also really important to us to note is that these trees are in the landscape for a reason. They were there because they were protected. They weren't cut down while all the other vegetation around them was. And this is a picture of a beautiful legacy tree that somebody took a picture of in Barrera. So the Legacy Tree Project, what is it going to do? It's going to help reconnect people with their cultural heritage, and you all can help us know if we're achieving that as the project progresses, and we learn about what you're learning about the relationship between trees and people. It will help to protect the remaining large trees in the landscape by documenting them and acknowledging their presence. contributing to biodiversity conservation, and protecting and celebrating traditional knowledge and culture, and identifying seed sources for replanting efforts. And these are the mother trees. And finally, contributing to Rwanda's climate action plans and biodiversity conservation goals. And we also wanted to point out there's this really nice report that comes out every year, the State of the World's Forests. And the one from 2024 showed that trees are over 1/4 of all the species on the IUCN Red List. So there are a lot of trees that have been listed as threatened and endangered. And the number of threatened tree species more than double any other fauna species. And we also know that trees face many threats related to agricultural expansion and also urbanization. And more than 17,000 tree species are at risk from this rapid global change. So that's another reason why we wanted to do something. So what can one individual legacy tree do? Well, it can absorb a lot of carbon dioxide, about 22 kilograms. One tree can support 2 million organisms throughout its lifetime. And I urge you, when you come across a tree, just look up into it. Any one of these native trees here, and even some of the non-native ones, have a lot of different species on them, including the lichens and insects and birds and all that. And one tree also has the potential to release 50,000 liters of water, which feeds back into the water cycle. If some of you took my natural resource management course, you know that we did talk about the water cycle, and a single tree is very important for the water cycle. So how will the Legacy Tree Project work? We are going to document the legacy trees in the whole country. I remember when we were starting to talk about this project, some people were saying, no, you should start small and just start with one district or just two. And I was thinking, no, I want to do the whole country. I really want to see what's out there in the whole country. And I think we can do it, and we have starting to do it. And we're going to document the stories about why those trees are still there in the landscape. I think there's going to be some really interesting stories. Some of these individual trees even have their own names beyond, the scientific or common vernacular names they have. We're going to document it with video and photography and discussions with elders and youth, other community members. We want to create a map of the legacy trees in the country so that they can be found and protected and visited. We want to develop a stewardship program with local communities who can take pride that these trees are still there and that represent an element of their cultural history, and also are essentially a legacy of what was in the landscape before it was cleared. We also want to work with Rwanda Forestry Authority to advocate for policy to protect the remaining legacy trees in the country. And finally, we are also thinking about developing a legacy tree tour to share about these beautiful trees with the public, with tourists, national and international tourists, and we would like this to be managed by local communities. And I was really inspired by this idea because I was in India 2 years ago for the Association for Tropical Biology and Conservation Conference, and I happened to have a chance to go one afternoon on a legacy tree tour in the town, and it was just really transformational. We were out for about 2.5 or 3 hours driving from tree to tree, and we would stop, our bus would stop, we would all get off and go out in a field to the tree and stand under it and look at it. And then the landowners would come out, and then they would start talking about the tree, and you could see their pride in the tree. And that's something we'd like to see if we could do here in Rwanda and enable local communities who are stewarding those trees to benefit. Another idea that we have is this Mas Arte Mas Acción approach. They have done some community art projects. These are just some examples of using recycled materials to put a structure around a legacy tree where a community can come together and visitors, and when they communicate and talk to each other, or even just sitting and thinking, they're facing the tree. They have to talk to each other through the tree, and it kind of leads to some interesting thinking about what a tree is and what a tree contributes to our environment. And we have not like formally developed an idea, but it's a concept. Maybe some of you are interested in this as well. And I know that we did a little mini launch of this during the Association for Tropical Biology and Conservation Conference last year, 2024 in Kigali. And so that's where the idea came from. We also have some ideas to develop books, like coffee table books for adults that would highlight each tree as if it's an individual, almost like a person, but it would be a portrait of that tree and its story and its beauty and its cultural history and why it's still there, and any stories that can be documented in maybe multiple languages, of course, in Kinyarwanda. And also books for children, so that children can learn about these trees and the connection between people and trees in Rwanda. And how we are planning to launch the project to get to know these trees is, first, if somebody thinks they have a legacy tree, they'll fill out a form. And I'm going to show you the form in just a moment. They can fill out the form, but there's multiple ways they can do that. They could do it online or by phone, or they can call us. And then once we have a number of trees already submitted, we are going to be sending a team out to visit the tree and document the tree, take its measurement, identify it, find out who reported it, what kind of stories are around it, so we get the people in the community that have been helping to protect that tree and know about the tree, the GPS waypoints. So we'll be creating a database of those trees. And then the tree information will be stored in the Rwanda Biodiversity Information System, so that we always know that information is accessible. And we're doing this as a contest. So there's going to be awards given for the biggest tree, and that might be the biggest tree in DBH, but also we're going to be looking at awards by district for the highest number of native legacy trees. So what districts have somehow done a good job of protecting their legacy trees, the greatest number of different species, and the greatest number total of individual legacy trees. And then we are also going to give award for the tree with the best story behind it, explaining, why it's still there and what we know about that tree. And we have these ways to submit. So this is, if I click on this, I go to a Google form, and it's in Kinyarwanda, and it's also in English, and you can fill the form out with the details. It's very simple form. And then that enables us to record it. And then when we have a critical number of trees reported, we're going to start going out and visiting those trees. If you can't access the Google form, you can also download the form and print it. And there's a link to it here also. And we share, we have like a flyer with all this information that we can send out as well. You can also contact this email or WhatsApp number if you want more information. And one of our team members, Jeanette Batumuliza, can help you fill in the form and submit it. You can also visit the nearest district forest or environmental officer, and they can help you record it. So there's multiple ways that your a tree reported. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the anticipated outcomes of this project. First of all, we're going to have all these trees documented that are out there. And once we know them, That's how we can help support protecting them and protecting the stories behind them and the cultural legacy that promotes them. And we believe this information is also going to provide a better understanding among both young and old about the importance of trees and those cultural connections between people and trees. And it's also going to provide an access to seeds, which could be needed and used for planting and restoration activities. And it will also contribute to emissions reductions through carbon sequestration. So we also believe that the project and outcome will be increased pride in Rwanda's biodiversity and cultural heritage, because I think this project is going to uncover a lot of really beautiful, amazing native trees and the stories about why they're still there. And again, those individual trees are also supporting a large number of native species. And we also hope that the project will lead to new tourism product through this legacy tree tour, which will connect with local communities and be an income generation tool for local community members and incentivize them to continue protecting those trees. And I want to mention that we also hope to again, work with Rwanda Forestry Authority to have a law in place that would protect these trees from being cut for sidewalks or roads or something like that. I just want to talk a little bit more about the Legacy Tree Tour concept. We just have general ideas about it. But we can share those general ideas with you. Some of you may have a lot more experience with tourism, but the Legacy Tree Tour will aim to share the knowledge about those trees and the Rwandan culture with the visitors. And it will engage with the communities so they take pride in what they know and the fact that they have one of these legacy trees in their community. And communities will receive a training about how to be a guide for these legacy trees. And it can be linked to traditional and cultural performances like the storytelling about the trees and the environment. And we could also have maybe locally made benches or stools that people could sit at or sit around to admire the tree and meditate under the tree. This could be that sort of merging into that community-led art installation, which would encourage reflection about nature and about people's connection to nature. And I want to show you our timeline. So we started this in January and we launched a logo contest. And we started interviewing people to make a video. And we also met with some partners. We did a press conference and we had an official launch in late February. And we have that on video. And we created a promotional video from the interviews that we did, which include the DG of REMA, Rwanda Forestry Authority, and the director of CoEB, and several other people on that video talking about why the project is important. And then we've released the call for the legacy trees through the Rwanda Forestry Authority to the districts. And we're just waiting for those trees to come in, and then we'll be going out to visit them. So far, what we've accomplished, we have this really amazing team here with the original members of the research team, who I already mentioned, plus Jeanette Batamuliza, who's an assistant on the project, the Legacy Tree Project. And then we are really grateful to have David Tuvey and his amazing Spruik team, who have been helping us also with promoting the project. And they really helped us a lot with the really wonderful launch that we had in Kigali. And there's a link here to the launch event, so you could watch it on YouTube. We also have this promotional video that you can watch, which explains, what is a legacy tree, why are they important, and how the project is going to be used. And we want to use that for more fundraising for different aspects of this project. And as I mentioned, the call for the reporting the legacy trees was launched thanks to the DG of Rwanda Forestry Authority. So how can you be involved, whether you're a student or a senior researcher or anybody in the government or an NGO? You can help to distribute the information about how to report a tree. And that's that survey, which again can be in a paper form or online. And we can help you to get access to that and distribute it. If you have the means to do this, you can donate prizes for the legacy tree competition, which are going to be to individuals and to communities who have been, through districts who have been protecting and stewarding these trees. And then you can also become a sponsor of other aspects of the project, like the community art installation, or we need to have a website so everyone can see these beautiful trees as the stories start emerging and the photos and the map and everything. Or you may be interested in sponsoring to create these books for the adults or for the students. And there's lots of other ideas and spin-offs that could come out of this legacy tree project. So if you have ideas, we'd really love to talk with you. So I want to thank you for paying attention today, and my contacts are here. And also Jeanette Batamuliza is always available to talk with you about it. She's been really instrumental in helping to make sure the project gets announced far and wide. So with that, I want to thank you all for your attention, and I'm really excited to hear your comments and questions about this project, and any thoughts you have about how it's being done. We're really at the early stages, and we're really excited about it. It has a lot of different parts to it, so it's quite flexible, and maybe you have some interesting thoughts about it. So yeah, I would like to thank you all and open it up for any comments or questions.
Thank you very much, Beth. Interesting project and interesting talk. This is really amazing. I can see someone called LDM. He raised the hand, then I want to hear.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Prof. Beth Kaplin. I'm Marie-Laetitia Busokeye. I think it's the first time I'm participating in that any meeting on legacy trees, and it's really wonderful, and I'm really happy with this work that is being done. I am a fan of native species, etc. And so I'm really happy to see the work that has been already done. And I have just one comment. And Beth, as you put it very well, you were talking about working with Rwanda Forestry Authority to put in place kind of legislation to protect these trees, so that if there is any need to construct a side road or something like that, these trees are most of the time cut, and I think it's really not good. But I think a big step forward has been done, because with the new Forestry and Trees Law 2024, you have a chapter on protected trees. And we have from Article 27 to 29, provision for these protected trees. So I think, and in the same law, it is provided that a ministerial order listing those protected trees will be developed and enacted. So I think, I don't know how the linkage will be done when this list of protected area will be developed, but it should really be connected with the legacy trees so that those trees are included in the list of the protected area, the protected trees. So I think this is what I wanted to put forward. It's really important that you get connected with the development of the list of protected trees so that the legacy trees are included in the list. So otherwise, I'm really happy to see that work, and I thank you for a great presentation.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's a great comment. We'll definitely work with Rwanda Forestry Authority. And the law that you're pointing out is for this by species. And so we can assume that the legacy trees identified will be among those species, but it'll be interesting to see that overlap and then understand how the legacy trees will, maybe as you suggested, it would be a list added onto that law. But it would also be really nice to acknowledge, somehow in a document that Rwanda has all these individual legacy trees that are not only about those particular species, but also about those trees as individuals representing a legacy in that community of what it was like and including all the stories around it. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I took a note on that, and I think it will be really important to connect to that law. Thank you. Vanna, do you want to continue moderating?
Yes, I can see it from the chat room by Hilary. She said, hello CoEB, a very nice talk and a project from Beth. Such a valuable project. Tour of legacy trees and champion trees is a great idea. And it's wow. Risa also says, greetings, CoEB, great talk. Wonderful project. Thanks. Sharing services and leadership Beth. And then Jiringiro continued to say, how can a legacy tree project engage local communities in the long-term environmental leadership? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, David. Yeah, I love that question. It's, I would say it's really a core part of the Legacy Tree Project because it's combining biodiversity and trees with people. A lot about the reason why we have legacy trees has to do with people and communities who protected those trees and did not let them get cut down. And we mentioned in the talk and with my colleagues, a lot of the ideas we came up with have to do with how we engage with communities. So first of all, we're going to be highlighting the stories about why those trees are still there. And that would be documenting what the community members know and really honoring and elevating their knowledge about those trees. And then we want to capture those stories on video and photography and make sure that it gets back to the communities, again, in the form of books for adults or for kids. And then also, if we can get this community-based legacy tour off the ground, that's another way that communities could benefit by taking pride in the fact that they have legacy tree in their community and that people want to come and visit it and will even, pay money and take time to visit it and learn from the communities about the trees. And then if we do this Más Arte, Más Acción project, which is that community art installation, that's also going to be all about the communities. Like communities can decide they would like that art installation around their tree. And then we hope we can find a group that, I know Rwanda now has some really amazing local art groups and NGOs. Maybe one of them will partner with us to develop that part of it. And it will also be with communities and really elevating and putting importance on the fact that they have this tree that they have been stewarding. So thank you, David, for that really nice question. I see Rebecca. Maybe I'll just go from the top down. Like I saw Rebecca, you've got your hand up.
Yes, but I can use that one.
She's coming to use this mic.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm in the room, it is better I use this mic. Thank you so much. I love this project. It is really amazing. Yeah, I have some questions I want to know about this because I think it is better for everyone to participate in Rwanda if possible. One of the questions is, I heard you saying that there will be a contest or competition. There will be the best trees, the biggest, the best tree which has a story behind it. I want to know the criteria, if you have already criteria detailed on those contests and prizes. And also I want to know which platform we will be documenting. I already put myself in. So which kind of platforms will be documenting those stories behind those trees? Is it on, okay, maybe you will have to explain the platforms. And the communities, is it only maybe university communities who are in that sector of environment, biodiversity, and so on? Everybody out there can participate, maybe through a certain organization or something else, but really interested. Yeah, that's my questions I want to use highlight on.
Oh, thank you, Rebecca. If I forget any part of your questions, just repeat it for me. I'll start with the last question about, I think you were asking what communities are involved. So these are mainly communities anywhere in the country. As I said in the beginning of my presentation, we launched this project across all districts, every corner of the country. We want this to reach every remote corner, every little village in the country, every community that may have a legacy tree, they can report it. And we've tried to make it very easy for reporting. So you can use, again, you can use a Google Doc, but we know a lot of people don't have access to the internet. So you can also go to your district environment authority. You can make a phone call. You can send a WhatsApp message. Yeah, so we've tried several different ways to make it easy using different platforms for reporting a tree. And then you were asking about the competition part, and sorry, sneezing, about the competition. So we have several different criteria. They were developed by the team of us that started the Batir project, that integrating native trees into the timber industry. And then we worked together with Jeanette to kind of enhance and develop it. So there's a number of different categories. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but if you have some other ideas, and it is, they are laid out in the flyer, and we're circulating the flyer. So after this talk, I'll make sure with our team that we get the flyer back out, circulated on different platforms. But the flyer shows what the different categories are. And, you know, depending on how many other sponsors or donors we have, we may get other, you know, other categories. We can always add more categories. And one of the things we're trying to do is identify in the competition, like awards that would help to incentivize and really help people in communities, so that we may have a range of different prizes. It could be like a cow or a pig or a chicken or something else that a community or an individual may want. And we want to try to make it so they can choose. So we have different categories. I was just talking with Jeanette about this yesterday, like having some categories, and then, you know, if you've got the tree, like the tree with the most interesting story, what would be some of the different options you could get. So we're right now in the process of approaching different donors to get the prizes together, and we're really open to suggestions. You also asked about the platforms that we're using, I think, to promote the stories, if I understood correctly, because we are going to be, we actually already have somebody who has volunteered. It's from, now I just forgot it's a company in Rwanda, but I think they're based in Europe. And they do soil fertility, soil microbiome work. And somebody in that company has volunteered to do the videography for us, to put together a video, well, for each story, because there's going to be a lot, like we want to document every story. But we also want to create a web page where everything can sit. So you can go to the web page and then listen to the different stories. And then, as I mentioned, we're also going to be creating different kinds of books. So books for adults, and then also children's books. And the children's books, we hope we could eventually distribute out into the communities so that the kids can learn about what are legacy trees, and then also the kind of cultural stories about that tree that link Rwandan culture and language to that tree. Yeah, I hope that answered your question, Rebecca. Did I get it?
Yes, thank you so much. I think you have answered. Maybe I will reach out to, I wanted to know if there is a way of communicating communities out there, or just this platform or this meeting. I don't know.
Oh, no. As I mentioned, the whole point is communities out, yeah, you students, you live in communities also, and you may know of a legacy tree, but as I've said several times now, we are distributing this across every corner of the country. So we have started with Rwanda Forestry Authority. They sent the announcement out to their districts, to the mayors and the district district forestry officers. So it's like cascading the information out to the communities. Then we are also going to be doing radio stories. So already there was a radio story in Nyagatare, and Jeanette Batumuliza, our assistant, can give testimonial that she's been really bombarded with contacts from people in Nyagatare who want more information and know about legacy trees in their communities. So we realized that using the radio, and we hope also when we get TV access, will help us get to people out in communities, and any other ways that we can reach rural communities. We're also contacting through NGOs that work out in rural communities like 1 Acre Fund and ARCOS. We're going to be contacting them to help us get this information out to communities. So any of you, if you have ideas or ways of reaching communities, you can also help. Another example is that we have a project in the center called it's a Climate Smart Agriculture Project. It's a collaboration with ECRAF and Rwanda Agriculture Board, and Vana Nzibaze is our project manager. So he very graciously, in that project, the team members are always out in the field visiting rural farmers in different places in the Eastern Province. And so he's been talking to farmers about this legacy tree project, so that they can also be aware and document the trees. So yeah, we're using different methods and modes of reaching out to communities. Yeah, thank you. I saw some questions. Well, there's hands up still, and then there's questions in the chat. But I know there was a question up for a while from, it might have been one of the early questions that was up by Shadrach, I think. Are you there, Shadrach?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Beth, for a good presentation about Rwanda tree legacy. I have a question, right? It's a curiosity question just for clarification. Is those legacy tree a tree which found only in a protected area, or is it's all about all trees in Rwandan landscape, including agriculture? I just want to know if it's all tree remaining, which can be included in this project. Thank you.
Oh, Excellent question. Yeah, in the beginning of my talk, I defined how we are using the term legacy tree project. So with my colleagues from the Patir project, when we were first thinking about the legacy trees, we made a decision that these would be trees that were not in the protected area. What was unique about legacy trees for us and the legacy tree project that we have developed here is that these are trees that are outside in what we call the working landscape. So they're out in agricultural land, out in the middle of a village, out in a pasture land. They're out there, meaning they're a legacy of what that ecosystem looked like before it was cleared of all of its natural vegetation. So yeah, we're focusing on the trees that are out there. And again, they're out there for a reason. Amazing human beings protected them. And that's what we really want to document. Thank you again for that nice question. I saw Deo has a question, then maybe I can go to the chat. Deo?
Yes, Deo can come in.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Prof. Beth, for a wonderful, really a great project. I like it. I like this legacy tree project. And this is really very important for so many reasons that you have explained. And I think also one thing that I think always is that these trees, and they are like the books for Rwanda, because before they learned how to write and read, they used to, the history was tied to these natural elements, the trees, the names of the villages, the names of the hills. So this is great for so many reasons, for biodiversity protection, but also for history. So I think you're gonna have the compilation of information really and history through this, and this is great. So my question is a small technical, maybe clarification. You mentioned about how the information is gonna be put in books and videos. What about the signage on the trees? Like you mentioned something mass action, like the art, the community art. Is it going to be in that context? Are you gonna use the community art to put the signage, the information signage, where you have probably Kinyarwanda and English that is describing this tree that is actually very important for whoever who's visiting the tree and for the legacy tree tour. And that is my question. But I'm really interested in this project, and if there is any way that I can contribute, maybe you will mention, oh, we can share the information in box about how I can contribute. Probably I'm a conservation professional, but I also part of the Rwanda Safari Guides Association. So I think I'm more interested also about the legacy tree tour. It's really exciting. It's a very good product, and for someone who likes to do the tours about conservation, biodiversity, the stories, and linking people and the nature, it's gonna be a wonderful product to have really. I don't know how I can be involved in, so you will tell me. But this is really interesting and good work.
Wow, thank you so much. When you were first talking about, what you know about, the original history about trees, and people knew their history through the trees, that kind of brought tears to my eyes. It's really what motivates me so much, because I really feel like in the world today, we wouldn't be having these really serious problems with biodiversity loss and environmental degradation and climate change if we actually knew and loved and cared about our environment. And I feel like in your Rwandan culture, I'm sort of envious, and I love how when you start talking to people here, you have these stories, you have these deep, deep connections to nature and biodiversity. And that's something really unique. Not all different peoples have that. And I feel like trees are a connection and can really help us in a lot of ways to reconnect to nature. And that's also a big, very practically, it's a big part of the new global biodiversity framework. And, in Rwanda, you've revised your national biodiversity strategy and action plan. A lot of that's about stop doing business as usual, reconnecting to nature. And I feel like this project can help do that. So I'm glad you mentioned that. And then I'm also so happy you mentioned about the signage. We have talked a little bit about it, but we have no clear ideas. And you made me realize we could really look at a group that would be interested in doing the signage, both sponsoring it and then maybe having an art group or a youth group or a student club who could do the signage. So that's a really wonderful point that you brought up. And the other thing, and it would, give out the story and the names and all that as well. And then the other thing you mentioned about the tour and you being a guide, I'm so happy you mentioned that, because I've been thinking about when we do the community, when we try to develop the community-based tour, I'm not sure like we will do it ourselves, but we want to talk to Rwanda Development Board and get their help and guidance. And then I was also really thinking a lot about, I know so many of you tour guides know so much about both biodiversity and Rwandan nature, but also about, how to do tourism and even how to work with communities. So I'm really glad you mentioned that, because we will need you, and I will reach out to you. Maybe you'll be helping us to develop that component of the project. And again, it would be working with RDB and also looking for some donors to help get that launched to support the communities. So again, thanks so much for that question. I saw Godfrey or Vinod, do you want to go ahead? I saw Godfrey put a question in the chat.
Yes, others go through all questions, and they have not received many questions from people. I would like to let you answer those questions in the chat room, and meanwhile, request Janet or Sarim to put links to those documents you mentioned, whether the fact sheet, the document to submit responses in the hard copy, and also the link to fill. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Don't forget,
Yeah.
many people may have questions afterwards, then they can contact few members. Yeah, go ahead.
Good. Thanks for that. Yeah, Godfrey, I see your question here. You wanted to know about the measures taken to reach a large number of community members so that they can be aware of the project. So I don't know if you posted that after I answered Rebecca's question, because she asked the same question. And so we are using a number of different formats. We're working through, for example, NGOs that are working out in rural communities. Those are like 1 Acre Fund and ARCOS and other small local NGOs. And then we're going to be contacting them with the information so they can reach community members to get the information about how they can report a legacy tree. And people can also use like a non-smartphone, just a regular dumb phone, and they can, call Jeanette Batumuliza and she can help them report a tree. She's already started doing that. We're going to use radio. We know a lot of people in rural communities listen to the radio. And then also when there's different projects that are out, going out in the field, we're going to be asking them to help inform the communities they're working with about the Legacy Tree Project. So we're just doing as much as we can to reach rural communities, as you said, like older people who might not be using social media. Actually, social media is not really the main way that we're right now alerting people about this. We're really working through like districts and the environmental officers and other, radio and other forms like that. So we're trying to use a variety of different formats because we're aware that not everyone has a smartphone, not everyone is using social media. And if you have any ideas or suggestions for other ways that we could reach people, do let us know. And then let's see. Well, thank you here for Chune for the comment. It's about how I explained the legacy trees, what they are, how they're important. I'm really glad that you like that. And I hope that, you might also get motivated to join some aspect of our project. So I saw now, oh yeah, here's another, some with a hand up. Ange, Leo, do you want to unmute? You can ask your question.
Hi.
Hello.
Yes, good afternoon and good evening, by the way. Thank you very much. My name is Angelo Clevis Dushime. I'm a bachelor candidate in botany and conservation here at University of Rwanda, College of Science and Technology. I'm very excited to participate in this seminar to learn more about a legacy tree. I have traveled, throughout the country. I have seen some of the huge tree. I think it's gonna be recorded as the important tree, which have some history behind their existence up to date. There is a reason behind. And I think it's going to be more important in future conservation. The students and the young people will learn from it. I hands up right now to comment or to suggest whether we can, because I think the conservation requires multifaceted approaches, different approaches, so that it can be more effective. So to make legacy conservation more efficient, I think also we can try to highlight about the modern technology today for the young people, particularly children, to engage them. I think we can also try to work on the animations. Can we try also to integrate cartoons? We have said about the storybooks, short books, writing books. Also, I was wondering whether we can think about creating cartoons that can be even passed through RBA for certain amount of minutes, so that young people who are far away, who are out of reaching those books, can try also to get some information about those legacy tree. Yes, we can think about also cartoons, if it is possible, if you have planned to integrate it in this project. Thank you very much.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. I really love that idea. I think anything is possible. We are gathering these ideas and we are, as I mentioned, we're in the process of approaching different sponsors and donors. So it's really great to have these ideas, because then we can, develop a concept note around that idea. For example, like producing cartoons about legacy trees and why trees are important and how both important in the environment, important in the culture, etc. And for creating cartoons, and then we could look for a sponsor to develop like a little TV series using these cartoons. So I love that idea, and I just took a note that you suggested that. So thank you very much, and keep these great ideas coming. I think somebody else had their hand up.
Beth, I suggest you go through the chat room. I'm not receiving more questions because we are beyond 4, and we have some questions in the chat room. I'd like to focus.
Okay, then let me go to, well, I saw that Jean-Aimé, thank you for, Jean-Aimé has been, he was one of the original brains behind coming up with the Legacy Tree Project. We thought about this together, and I'm glad he's here, and I'm glad that he mentioned about the Forest and Trees Law. So I'm sure we'll be working on that together. And then Joseph, thank you for your comments. And yeah, you mentioned this Heritage Center, which was really exciting to hear about. And I'm glad you also have that kind of experience. And yeah, that tree in Butaro, I think, yeah, I hope that gets reported. That's exactly the kind of, you know, tree and story that we want to document. And then you had the question, how do you plan to stop tree cutting and new infrastructure construction where trees are not yet recorded? So, well, I can mention that Rwanda, which I think is always so progressive in these areas, and as Letizia Busokeye mentioned, she mentioned the law that also Jean-Aimé just wrote about. So there is a law that protects native trees, but then also I think it's important to document these individual trees that are important out in the working landscape. Again, what I'm calling like agriculture, pasture land in villages. And indeed, they can get cut down when maybe an urbanization project, an infrastructure project petitions to say, you know, I need the right of way, I need that tree moved. We would like to document those trees and then maybe advocate for a law or a policy that you have to go around the tree instead of cutting it down. And we hope that that could be possible. And again, we want to work with Rwanda Forestry Authority on that. So that's what we want to do to protect them, because I think we've all witnessed these trees already starting to be cut down when different projects go up. Then I saw Salim, thanks, you're noting that there's going to be posts coming out on social media, and I just shared a form in the chat also, so you all can look in chat to get the form. And Anita, you asked how this project will help local communities in their livelihoods. So the teacher in me wants to turn that back to you all listening. I want to turn it back to everyone. So just take like 30 seconds. Can you think of a way, based on the presentation I gave, of how this project might help local communities in their livelihoods? And then I can hear your brains thinking. And then I'm going to give you my answer. You might come up with something else. But what we hope, and again, you know, I'm going to challenge you to make sure you can also assess this quantitatively, but to say how it could help local communities is through, first of all, I think a big part is through the tour. We want to develop this legacy tree tour. We want communities to directly manage them and then benefit from the tour. So as I did in India, I went on a legacy tree tour. I paid money, and then that money goes to the guide and to the communities who are protecting those trees, and the communities can come out and talk about the tree. Also, we would like to have these books, and if we can start selling these books, then the revenue generated from the books, we would like that money to go into a fund that would go back to the communities who are protecting these trees. So those are two examples of how we would like to see this project benefiting local communities and improving their livelihoods. And there may be other ways as the project continues to develop. So yeah, thank you for that question, Anita. And Deo, you asked about the Institute of Museums. And yeah, we've reached out to them. We actually invited them to this seminar, and they were invited to our launch event as well. And we're lucky that Jeanette Batamuliza used to work at the museum, so she's also been really good at making sure they are communicated with as we're developing this project. But I believe that when we get to the point of working on the video documenting, we want a video for each tree that is documenting the story with images of the tree and of the community and the elders, that we would like to have that Institute of Museums, I forget, I think it's called now Rwanda Heritage Center Academy. We want them to be involved in that. They have staff who know a lot about documentation of that heritage and culture. So we're imagining that we will be collaborating with them on the creation of these videos and stories, which will be used to document that information and then presented back to the public and to the communities. So yeah, thank you for that question. Okay, so, oh, it's already 4:10. I thought I was ending kind of early my presentation, so we had lots of time to talk, and we've already gone over 30 minutes, but it's so exciting. So I don't know, do any of you have any other questions or comments you'd like to raise?
There is the last question in the chat room by Letitia. You can answer that, then maybe we close.
Okay, Letitia, I see you have your hand up. Do you want to unmute and ask?
Yeah, I was thinking how to incentivize, the communities to protect. You see, with this system of imihigo, depending on where the legacy trees are and how to organize communities living around, and with all this training, all this attraction of ecotourism visiting these trees, how can they put that in their imihigo contracts? And if they can show this is the amount we have raised through protection of these trees and people visiting, I think it is something that can really excite their involvement and protection of the trees. We need to think about really how to craft this around, because if you think about tours visiting or those, how to link with the communities living around, how to organize them around, so that really they are the champion of really driving this ecotourism or tourism based on legacy trees. Thank you.
Yeah, that I really love that comment. I think that's really critical to link the legacy trees and their conservation to, imihigo. I mean, I even thought it can go all the way up, because also when I think about a lot of targets that, Rwanda has in different organizations and the, the different performance targets, protecting these trees, for carbon, for biodiversity conservation, etc., adaptation, is really, I think, going to be a nice connection. But going down to the community like that, I really love that, and connecting it to the imihigo, and then incentivizing it that way. And yeah, you're right. It's something that we, we'll probably have, again, I don't know that we as a team will be doing all of this. We want to inspire different, groups to take on different aspects of this project. So we may look to, work with a group that would take on that aspect of how to embed, once we have the trees mapped and we've started approaching the communities, how we can get the communities involved in stewarding them and the community-based tourism around those trees, and alerting the tour guides and making sure they get the incentives, the communities get the incentives. Yeah, that's it's not rocket science, but it needs to be done carefully. And I'm really glad you mentioned that. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, thank you very much for the great talk, Beth, and of course the great project you are doing and the team. That's wonderful, and I know you will be amazed with the results of this project because I saw a sample of it when I asked the 50 farmers. I got a response of like 80 trees because some of them reported like 3 trees, 4 trees, and the story is very wonderful. And yeah, I would like to see the final results when all of them are compared. And I think the rest of us also are waiting patiently to see them. Yeah. Now I need us to contact Beth, Janet, Sarim, and the other team members Beth mentioned for any further question or when you want some clarification anywhere. So we contributed to this project. Yeah, thank you all for attending the seminar today. It was wonderful to have you all, and I'm waiting for you again next week, 3 p.m. again on Wednesday. And if you have a topic you want to share with us, whether a research, an idea, you are welcome to contact me. Yeah, we learn from each other, we grow together. That's our thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you all.